All right, we're just going to hop right into it because we don't have a moment to waste here. I appreciate you guys joining me. Thank you so much for coming back to Blunt Politics. I'm Boston Brian. Welcome everybody on this space as well. Hello and shout out to the Letter Hack. It is Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025, and we are honored and privileged today to be joined by the host of the Michael Fanone Show, American hero, former DC Metropolitan Police officer. I'm not going to waste any time. We're going to bring him right in here. Michael, how you doing, my man? How's everything? Let me see if I can put you on the stage. There you are.
What's up, buddy?
What's going on? Long time no see.
Yeah, man. Long time.
I have a little feedback. It sounds like I can hear myself twice in your microphone for some reason.
Oh, really?
Sorry about that. Let me see if I can maybe do something on my end. Mic settings. Echo cancellation. Let me see if that helps. Well, that should help. All right. No, we're good. I think that's good. We're good. How's everything, my man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm well. Lots to discuss. We haven't seen each other since we met backstage for the first time, I should say, and it was an honor and a privilege to do so behind the scenes at the Dropkick Murphys concert at the Warped Tour. I mean, what a place to have our first meeting. That was a pretty cool encounter, I must say.
I know. I don't know if you heard, but I jumped in on the last eight days in their tour. So we did.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, we did Baltimore, Asbury Park. We're in Atlantic City, New Hampshire, and rounded everything off in I guess downstate New York. I had a blast.
That's amazing.
Man. Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, I went to school in Utica, upstate New York. I played hockey up there for a little bit. But was it anything like the Warped Tour? Because I haven't seen a crowd like that in a long, long time. Like, it's been a long time since I've been to any concert, festival, or anything like that. But to see, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 people out there was pretty wild.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hadn't been to a Warped Tour in like 15 years, so that was pretty incredible. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, dude. Like, I was going to shows when 97, 98, 99, like early 2000s, when like the Dropkicks would pack in like a whole 50 people. And so like it's pretty incredible to see and that, I mean, not just the amount of fans, but the diversity of fans. It's not just like punk rock kids from like when I grew up, but union guys and I mean, I guess punk rock did get old, so there's like a lot of,
yeah.
But
it was cool. Not only that, but the reaction to what he was showing on the screen in the background and what the songs are about. You know what I mean? Picking fun at Donald Trump on the screen in the background, and it was cool to see the play on social media that those clips got afterwards, which is I think is a lot of the reason that Ken is doing what he's doing is to try to continue to raise awareness to the dangerous aspects of what's going on. With the Trump regime, the Trump administration. I know we saw today the press conference from the victims of the Epstein files, the Epstein investigation. So I'd like to get into a little bit of that with you. But just for the maybe one person that's watching this that might not be up to speed or up to date on who you might are, or a little bit about your history, can you just give us a little brief background on your past and how you got to this point?
Yeah, so I was born in Washington, D.C., grew up in what we refer to as the DMV, which is like suburban area around the city itself. I was a high school dropout. I started my working career at the ripe old age of 17. I got into an apprenticeship with the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners at their Mid-Atlantic Training Center. I was a journeyman carpenter, and then 9/11 happened. Like so many other Americans, I felt, call to service, and I ended up putting in applications with a couple different police departments. I started as a U.S. Capitol Police officer, which is ironic given the fact that, 20 years later, I ended up at the Capitol, but I only stayed there for about a year. I left actually the 1 year anniversary of joining U.S. Capitol Police, and I became a Metropolitan Police officer, which for those that are not familiar, there's like 72 law enforcement agencies in Washington, D.C. Like every government agency has their own police department. I mean, even the FBI has a police department. The Bureau of Printing and Engraving has their own police department. But the Metropolitan Police Department is the traditional law enforcement agency. So if you call 911, we're the ones that show up.
Right.
That being said, I spent 19 of those years working in special mission units focused primarily on narcotics trafficking, and violent crime.
I mean, that's a long career doing, something that you're obviously passionate about. Obviously culminating in what we know as January 6th, 2021, where I'm sure a lot of people are aware of the story and the harrowing moments that you went through on that day. And we again thank you from not only myself but from everybody in the chat for your heroism that you showed that day, and not only that day but since then, and continuing to speak up and continuing to fight. Starting the show, starting the live, starting the podcast, so you can continue to make a difference is really a huge step. And I think it's bringing a lot of attention and awareness to these situations. A lot of which now we got to talk about is obviously with your background and your expertise, the takeover now of the DC Metro Police, that trying to be extended into places like Chicago. I'm sure there are other Democrat cities that they're eyeing, even though a judge has just ruled that Trump sending in the National Guard in LA was illegal. But it doesn't seem to be stopping or hindering Donald Trump or his administration from at least threatening to do this in many other major cities. So what are your thoughts on what he's trying to do there and what he's already done in DC?
Yeah, I mean, first, I think it's important that you recognize the fact that we live in a democracy. In Washington, D.C., despite it being a federal city, they still have home rule that was enacted in, I think, 1976. And so there's a mayor of the District of Columbia, Muriel Bowser, and then there's a city council. Those are the elected representatives for the city government. The residents of the District of Columbia, they have elections, they vote these people in, and they entrust them with, running the city. A portion of that includes public safety. Mm-hmm. And so the idea that the president of the United States would manipulate, crime statistics, or just flat out lie about the crime statistics that exist in the District of Columbia. I mean, yet is there crime? Absolutely. As someone who spent 2 decades policing Washington, D.C., do I think that it's risen to the level in which, we would want to see National Guard troops called in against the will of the elected officials there, which essentially, we should all remember is the will of the people. The people elected them, and they are their representatives. And so you have a president who is going against the will of the people, sending the National Guard in what really is just a theatrical maneuver. I was there in the early 2000s when we had a legitimate crime emergency. It was Chief Charles Ramsey at the time, asked for the National Guard. The mayor called up the National Guard. We had a National Guard presence. And the reason for that was we were experiencing homicides at a rate in which, I had never seen prior to that and never saw after that. We were getting multiple homicides per day and multiple shootings per hour. And so the way that the National Guard is utilized, I mean, we have posse comitatus in this country, which prevents National Guard troops from engaging in law enforcement activities. They can't make arrests. They can't stop and detain people. But what we did at that time, they were unarmed, and they took over some of the, lower priority responsibilities of local law enforcement. For example, they were used in neighborhoods for high visibility. They were also used to do things like direct traffic, block intersections, et cetera, to free up local law enforcement so that they could go out and do the job that they needed to do to stop this crime emergency. Fast forward to today, where we see National Guard troops being called up and positioned in places around the National Mall where there's already little to no crime at all.
Too.
What is a very performative action. They're not doing anything to stem the crime. What's actually having an effect is the flooding of the city with federal resources. which, even that you can get into. There's a right way to do it, and then there's the way that the Trump administration is going about doing it. I worked as a federal task force officer almost my entire career, which means as a Metropolitan Police officer, I was assigned to multiple federal task force. I worked with the DEA, the ATF, and the FBI throughout my tenure as a cop. And so those relationships are vital. You always say, like, local cops know the streets. Local cops know, the neighborhoods. They know the people. Federal agents bring in an expertise in assembling sophisticated cases, like RICO cases, cases involving Title III or wiretaps. And they also bring in federal dollars. And so, these relationships, while they're imperative, what we're seeing happening here on the streets of DC is you've got FBI agents walking foot beats through, downtown areas, and going after homeless encampments, which I get it, it's unsightly. Do I think that these people deserve to be treated in such an inhumane fashion? No, I do not. You've seen an escalation in ICE, involvement in local law enforcement, and really, an escalation in ICE raids throughout the city, which is terrorizing, a population of the city that, the immigrant population of the city, and having a really like a rippling effect throughout the entire city. I was a cop here in 2015, 16, 17, 18, during what we refer to as the Summer of Love with the Black Lives Matter protests. And, there was this feeling that the citizens didn't like the cops.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a portion of the city that disagreed with police tactics, but now what you're experiencing is a backlash like I have never seen before. Everybody hates the police right now. Nobody trusts law enforcement. And a big part of it is in the way that local law enforcement, like the Metropolitan Police Department, have capitulated without any resistance whatsoever to this, broad overreach of the Trump administration delving into, local crime.
Well, do you think it's because they see them being used as pawns? And I know the situation differs whether you're talking about people in the National Guard or people in ICE or Border Patrol and their ability to either find another assignment or resign from their position. The National Guard, they're under contract, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a little bit different in terms of what they can do. But do you think it's because it's so obvious to everybody, the anger I'm talking about that you've rightly seen and you've probably heard in the chat and your show and stuff like that, that people see the National Guard and ICE and everything, they're being used as a political arm, as just another Gestapo-like wing of this regime, to again scare people, to intimidate people. Like you said, a lot of what Donald Trump and this regime does is optics, right? It's all about how it looks in appearance, but there are real world consequences. There are real world dangers to whatever optical illusions they're trying to bullshit people through. And, like you were saying, and before the National Guard was deployed, but they weren't armed. Now they're armed, which is just putting into a probability just more accidents, like the probability of more accidents or accidental discharge or something happening. The more people with more guns, the more chance there are for accidents. So whatever the thing is. But do you think the anger that you're seeing is because people are rightly, or they're seeing this as like a political wing or political arm of the law, almost like a Gestapo-like type of law enforcement?
So the parallels that I see are like, look at a lot of people in this country's reaction to the lack of pushback or the lack of fight in our, Democrat politicians in this moment. And from what I've experienced firsthand, kind of a byproduct of that has been these No Kings rallies. People feel like their politicians have failed them, and so they're going out and they're expressing their anger and outrage about this administration publicly, and in some massively attended protests. I think it's, a lot of people are looking and they're saying, okay, like, listen, I understand you're a National Guards person. You're given these orders. It's very difficult to discern, at face value, whether this is an unconstitutional order. And the average 18, 19-year-old that's actually out there, working these assignments as a National Guards member, they don't get it. And it's the same thing with the police department, but people don't care. They're pissed off.
Plus the threat of repercussions being an 18-year-old in that position, right?
Yeah. They want to see people standing up. They want to see resistance from people in these positions to this, what they perceive as, a grave overreach of this administration's authority. And in some instances, just flat out unconstitutional behavior, and in many more instances, immoral and unethical behavior. I mean, we've all seen the viral videos. It seems like there's too many to count at this point, involving ICE agents, manhandling people whose only crime that they committed was, not having properly gone through the process of coming to this country, or having been here legally and having their status revoked, and then getting dragged out of some courtroom and shipped off to God knows where.
Right.
People are reacting to that, and that's a big part of it. And that's what I caution the Metropolitan Police officers, my former colleagues, is that you're losing your credibility and you're losing the trust of the community. And once this administration has come and gone, and you're left to pick up the pieces, it is going to take a very, very long time, if ever, to regain the trust of the citizens. And as someone who spent 2 decades as a cop, I know you can't be a cop without the support of the community, and you can't be as an institution. A police department cannot be successful if they don't have the trust and support of the community.
It must be so wild for you to see, like you were saying, the FBI being used in the way that it's being used, the National Guard being used in the way that it's used, being, obviously hip to how this is supposed to work and what the natural course of these things are. And, to see armored personnel carriers and, military vehicles driving up and down the streets of DC, it must be just a wild sight for you. And it must just invoke some serious emotion and, some reaction from you. But as you were saying there before, talking about the mistrust, and on this show, I've been talking about how the public has been doing a great job. You were talking about the videos, the countless number of videos that we've seen. And that's only because, citizens are out there filming and following what these officers and ICE agents have been doing. We saw the father of the 3 Marines being punched in the face on the street. We've seen a number of times where, pregnant U.S. citizens, women obviously being arrested for their, expressing outrage in what ICE agents were doing. There's a number of them that you could talk about. And we've been, big proponents on this show of what I have been calling hashtag, film and follow. If you see, you see a group of these ICE agents, you see a group of these masked people walking down the streets, and you have the time and the ability, get them on camera, make sure that you oppose what they're doing, give them everything you can within the confines of the law. And, a lot of the time that's been leading to these videos that we've been seeing that shows just how brutal they're being with some people that obviously it's not justified, going into Home Depot parking lots, jumping out of Penske trucks and rounding up people cooking sausages on the side of the road. But somebody that's been doing a great job, I think, of fighting back, at least rhetorically so far, is J.B. Pritzker. So, and to go along with what you've been saying, if I could, I just kind of want to show this quick clip, which was from the Majority Report this morning, where he just shows a quick clip of what J.B. Pritzker was saying. And I think it goes hand in hand in what we've been talking about on the show. So if just indulge me for I think it's just about a minute. So just if I could, please.
The answer would be yes. That is the answer. Very conveniently. Here is Pritzker reminding Chicagoans to know their rights and advocating that people film, record what ICE is doing, and give it to the media.
to Chicagoans. What you can do is look out for your communities and your neighbors. Know your rights. Film things that you see happening in your neighborhoods and your streets and share them with the news media. Authoritarians thrive on your silence. Be loud for America.
So I thought that was very poignant, because that's been something that we've been talking about on this show for a long time, is, get this stuff out there. The more people see, I think the more outrage it will invoke from people. I think, the more people will get active, the more people will get involved when they, the more people see what the hell is going on. So is that something that, that you would advocate for? Do you think that's something that would help? Do you agree with JB Pritzker and the way he's kind of gone about fighting Donald Trump and Pam Bondi and the rest of these fascist bastards in the way they've been trying to take over these Democrat cities?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I have long said that above all else, it's indifference that is going to destroy this country. And one way to combat indifference is to record these moments and put them in front of as many eyeballs as you possibly can, so people can't be indifferent. They have to see what's going on, and they're going to have a reaction to it if they, have any compassion, empathy, or humanity left inside of them. And so I think it's been incredibly effective. I mean, you've seen a lot of pushback in communities. I was out in LA a few months ago when we were, at the show, but I talked to a lot of people that were out on the streets, and not the career protesters that law enforcement and this administration would tell you. These are just regular people that are so appalled by what's happening. And listen, I am as someone who wore the badge, like, I understand that law enforcement officers get put in difficult positions, and oftentimes law enforcement officers have to use force to do their job, and using force is never going to be optically pleasing. It's not going to be something that you watch and, as a layperson, someone who hasn't done the job and fully appreciate or understand, what's happening. But let me tell you this. There is no justification for the behavior and conduct that I have seen, exhibited by these ICE agents. And so I think it's important that we, while we have to scrutinize all law enforcement behavior in this moment, ICE really is, acting outside of what a law enforcement agency should be, conducting themselves, whether it's from wearing masks, failing to identify themselves, all the way to, the physical force that we've seen used. And unfortunately, it really is a lawless agency in that, with Kristi Noem at the helm, there's no accountability. I've heard of people going to file complaints and being laughed out of, these ICE offices, and then going to local law enforcement to file complaints against ICE agents, and having ICE refuse to cooperate with local law enforcement in providing the identities of these agents, just simply so that the complaints can be investigated. And so,
it's like you said, though, the mask and looking like, the gear, like you're going down the streets of Fallujah, and and Iraq. It's like, running through, we've seen scenes again, jumping out of Penske trucks in Home Depot parking lots, running through parks. You've seen, and we've seen pushback, like you've rightly said, from the East Coast to the West Coast, from communities in Boston to communities in Southern California and everywhere in between. We've seen communities come together on their own, no organization just saying, hey, what the hell are these people doing? Forming a group and kind of forming a barrier between, the ICE agents and whomever they're trying to go after. So it's good to see the communities are fighting back and are, getting hip to what the hell is going on and the illegal, unconstitutional acts, and how, again, I believe ICE and the National Guard and people like the Border Patrol are being used as political pawns, as just another wing of Donald Trump's regime in order to, intimidate and scare people into complying or being silent, in which I believe J.B. Pritzker is rightly saying we should not be silent, right? Silence is compliance. We've heard that a lot. So, it's very important that we continue to speak about these things. But if I can here, I don't want to jump topics too much, but I'd be very remiss if I didn't question you about this, or at least get your thoughts on this. I sent this to your brother. I'm not sure if he showed you this or not, but this was Greg Kelly from a couple weeks ago. And I'm just going to play the beginning of this, and then I just want to get your thoughts on it, because he had some pretty spicy things to say about you. And then again, I just want to kind of get your, and we talk about Greg Kelly and cover Greg Kelly a lot in the show, which is a reason why I saw this. So I just kind of want to play the first minute and see what your thoughts are and kind of get your reaction to it.
The indifference shown to my colleagues is disgraceful.
Still can't believe they didn't throw him out of the joint. The fake redneck cop, Fanone. The indifference to my colleagues has been, this guy's a fake. We knew it back then, but I found out something else. I saw the rest of his body cam footage from that day. I don't think they ever thought we were going to find it. He's walking all over the place, totally healthy and fine. All
right, so I'm not going to give that any more airtime than I need to just get my point across or get your reaction. But I saw that. It's so ridiculous to me that people at this point in time have the balls to even question or to even bring up that day as a Republican is fucking ridiculous to me. But to then go ahead and have the balls to I don't know, criticize, critique, call out, shame anybody involved in that, it fucking is ridiculous. But before I go off on a tangent, I just want to get your reaction to Greg Kelly in that clip.
Greg Kelly is a clown searching for relevance. I think the FOP, which is an incredibly right-leaning organization, for the first time in their, since January 6th, actually stood up for me and called him a clown. It's like a waste of breath to even lend him any type of attention, because at the end of the day, this is like a guy. There's another one, Julie Kelly. I don't think there's a relation there, but she's another like nutbag. And what they do is, they try to pick these fights, hoping that there'll be a response, and then they can, generate attention for themselves, going after people that are much more prominent and have, the attention of many, 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 many more people than they do themselves.
Plus, it's a lot better than them talking about the Epstein files, right?
Yeah,
it's a lot better than talking about Donald Trump's bruising on his hand or his health complications or where he's been for the last 3, 4, 5 days and why they're putting out fake pictures and why he looks like fucking, a character from the Goonies in some of the pictures we've seen lately. So it's a lot easier for them to kind of call out the bullshit that they know their base feeds on. And again, I found it to be so fucking dirty and shisty of him to even pull that out at this point as an obfuscation, as a deterrent to protect Donald Trump. Yeah, go ahead.
His father was a high-ranking officer in the NYPD, which I also found incredibly interesting. I'm sure his father was very proud of him, but nevertheless, like, my story is probably one of the most well-known stories of the day. And so if you skip back from the 2 seconds of kind of meaningless body-worn camera footage that he showed of me being walked out of the Capitol, you can see the assault on me from about, I don't know, 500 different angles of the day.
Right.
And
it's like Tucker Carlson, where he was threatening to release all the footage, and then they quickly released that it was just making everybody look bad.
The reality is that I was pulled from a police line. I was beaten. I was tased. I was stripped of my radio and my badge. All of this was caught on video. There were 6 people that were charged with assaulting me. None of them went to trial. Each and every one of them pled guilty. Their sentences ranged from 5.5 years to 12.5 years. Danny Rodriguez being the most severely sentenced. He's the one that used a taser device on my neck multiple times. And as a result, I suffered a heart attack and a traumatic brain injury. And those are facts. They're indisputable. The medical records exist, and so do the video footage of me being assaulted by these 6 different men. It's all there for you to see. It's all on the internet. Check it out. But yeah, fuck Greg Kelly. He's a clown.
Yeah, no, I had to, and I apologize. I didn't mean to even bring it up, but it's been something I've been dying to ask you since I've seen it, because I know that you, like me, don't hold back in your feelings or your thoughts and your opinions, and I thought that it would be worthwhile to ask about the clown that is Greg Kelly, because you're absolutely right. But talking about how he is trying to kind of distract everybody from, I
believe that man lied
what
to
the
us,
Trump administration has been doing, ICE, and also
right,
the
that's coming in
Epstein
a little bit.
investigation.
Also,
Sorry, let me just see if I can.
James Clapper
Started playing in my ear, but. Did you get to catch any of the press conference this morning from the Epstein victims that they were talking in D.C.? Were you a little surprised to see Marjorie Taylor Greene up there with everybody?
A little bit. But I mean, I know that this is like one of, maybe a handful of issues that she has distanced herself from the Trump administration, which makes you think like it's got to be pretty damn bad for this administration. If
right.
Looney Tunes tinfoil hat wearing Marjorie Taylor Greene is willing to appear at a press conference with Thomas Massey and I forget the Democratic representative, Ro Khanna. Yeah, I mean, it's not looking good for.
I was going to say, I think it's a good indication as to how glued MAGA is, or at least a lot of them are to this subject, are going to continue to be to this subject, and how they're not buying the, this is all a hoax bullshit. And, this is written by Democrats and Comey and Hillary, and, Joe Biden and anybody else that you can think of that sounds like a boogeyman. It was written by them. Clearly, Marjorie Taylor Greene's presence at this should show a lot of them, even if they are on the fringes, that there is something to see here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I talked to people in MAGA land, and this is a deal breaker of all the things. And I mean, shit, being a pedophile is pretty fucking horrendous. But they're also starting to see the apparatus that is MAGA. The media support apparatus fall apart, because you look at people and you watch them bend themselves into pretzels trying to justify why Trump may be in there or why we should believe him when he says it's a hoax. And these are people that have been force-fed the Epstein file conspiracies for fucking 5 years, 4 or 5 years now, maybe more. And so they're not buying it.
Yeah, this is from, we've played this before, but this is from 2019. Here, let me see if I can put this on the stage. This is a PBS News article. All the assault allegations against Donald Trump recapped, and I think it goes on to show either 16 or 19 of them, naming the ladies, when it happened, what the reports were. So it's not like, at least this part of it has been out, and we've known about it for a long time. So for anybody to be like, it doesn't sound like something that Donald Trump would be involved in, is just clearly, and like you said, we have years of footage and podcasts and interviews from people like Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Alex Jones, who, Charlie Kirk, Marjorie Taylor Greene herself, who literally made careers and built their careers off of, demanding answers to things like the Epstein files and what they were calling the Hollywood pedophilia ring of pizza eaters, or whatever the fuck it was, the whole QAnon bullshit. So it's like, they fed into this fire, and they were the leaders. Now that they're in power and they have the position to actually come out with the information. They're the ones holding it back. And MAG is like, well, wait a minute. We just watched you for 12, 13, 14 years. Tell us that if you had the power, if you were the head of the FBI, if you were the deputy director of the FBI or the head of the DOJ, that these things would be released in a heartbeat and everybody would be held to account. But unfortunately, it does seem like the reports are saying, from what I'm hearing, that a lot of the information that the House was getting, the 33,000 pages, is already stuff that is publicly known. Like let's see if I can throw this on the screen just for a second here. Like this. Yeah. So the first thing, U.S. House Committee releases more than 33,000 pages of Jeffrey Epstein files. Files appear to contain information already in public domain, while calls grow for release of all pertinent documents, plus white employees are resigning in spectacular fashion. But it just seems like more of the same, though. More of, them trying to get the headlines like they're releasing everything. But really, it's Bindergate 2.0 or 3.0, where they had all those creators come out with the big white binders that had all the information or just less than the information that was already publicly known at the same time. So are we going to have to rely on the victim's testimony, or are we ever going to see the actual pertinent files to this case?
Yeah, I don't know if we're ever going to see all of the files related to this case during this administration. I mean, I think it was one of the big failures amongst others of the previous administration, not to address this and release each and every file related to these cases, which are so egregious. I mean, if you listen to the survivor stories, how do you not empathize with that? I mean,
which again would have totally got us out of this situation that we now find ourselves in too. Had, the Biden administration got down to business, had Merrick Garland, got down to task and actually, released the information that should be released. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you're 100% right.
No. And I think that, we're going to have to rely heavily upon the witness testimony from the survivors. But there's three other people that I'm looking for in the upcoming weeks who are scheduled to testify before Congress, and that's Kash Patel, Alex Acosta, who you may or may not be familiar with, but he was at the time the U.S. attorney in Florida who was in charge of the Epstein prosecution 1.0, the original one where he got the super sweetheart deal. I think he was sentenced to like 3 years, but ended up at
3 years of chocolate cake and work release. It's
right.
Like,
I mean, when you actually get down to the brass tacks of it, he barely spent any time in this low security facility. And, for all accounts, he was allowed to come and go as he pleased daily, to include overnights where he didn't return to the facility. And so it was like a sham. And so as a U.S. attorney prosecuting the case, I think if he tells the truth, is going to have a lot to say. And then finally, there's Pam Bondi, who, infamously said and held up the binders on her desk and said, I have the Epstein list here, the client list on my desk. And so, whether or not that was a truthful moment, I guess we'll find out.
So it seems like, and I'm pretty much in total agreement. I think they're going to do everything they possibly can in this entire administration to release as little information about this as possible while trying to string people along. I don't know how long it's going to be able to last like this. Again, when we're having press conferences, and I'll just kind of throw this up on the screen so people can see this as well, because I think even Marjorie Taylor Greene made a comment about it. Like, this is one of the bigger press conferences that she was a part of as a member of Congress. So it's good to see, the attention that this case is supposed to have garnered in the first place, or should have garnered in the first place, now getting the attention. And I think a scene like this, where Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ro Khanna, Thomas Massey, and the actual victims and the families are standing all in one place discussing this, is definitely going to take its toll on Donald Trump, which I think kind of leads me into asking about his health. Do you think that I'm serious, because I've been saying on the show that I have seen him age more just since this whole Epstein shit has broke than he did in his entire first administration, and you know how we talk about the presidents and how they look when they go in as opposed to how they look when they come out because of the stress of the job and the hours of the job, and how he kind of was immune to that bullshit, immune to the aging because he doesn't give a shit. He really didn't stress out. He's not up at all hours of the night trying to get shit done. You know, he's just worried about himself. But you know, I've seen him age. We've talked about the spots on his hands, the bruising. You know, he's, you know, his eyes are extremely puffy. I know they're puffy all the time, but more so the cankles, the swelling in his ankles. You know, more erratic behavior than is typically normal for him, being up on the roof and yelling to reporters and shit, for example. It's like, what is going on with this guy? Do you think there's more than meets the eye? You know, do you think they're hiding something from us? Do you think that's something that we should be focused on, or is that something we're probably not going to get the answers to, and we're probably better suited focusing elsewhere, and we can kind of deal with it as it comes?
Yeah, I mean, listen, asking those questions are completely legitimate. I mean, I'm not a fucking doctor, but I don't think I need to be to say that this motherfucker looks like shit. And you know, not the normal fat fuck that he appears to be. He looks like he's, you know, I mean, I saw the photographs, like he looks like he's a ghost.
Yeah, let me see if I can find one while you're talking. Yeah.
But, I mean, to think that you're going to get an honest answer out of the administration, you know, good luck. I mean, I'm sure at some point, if people keep asking questions, they'll cart out the, you know, the president's doctor who will say that he's a fucking stable genius, and that he's the pinnacle of health and should be, you know, all men.
You're going to live for 700 years.
All men should, you know, this should be the ideal for all men to look up to. You know, like time will tell, I guess.
Well, I guess my question should be then, do you think he's going to make it the next 3 years and change, whatever we got left? Or do you think there's going to be, you know, some forceful action need to be taken by the Republicans because of, you know, Trump's diminishing health? You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I don't see him. I don't know if I see him necessarily like falling over in the next 3 years or whatever, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's going in the right direction. The
only person getting Donald Trump, the only person removing Donald Trump from office is the Grim Reaper. You know, it ain't going to be Republicans. I think they're too scared, and I don't think there's anybody that's you know, that's willing to cross MAGA, that's that ambitious in that party. I think a lot of them are just really happy to be Donald Trump's cucks.
Yeah.
And so, you know,
here it is.
But he doesn't look good, and you know, whether he survives. I mean, I guess there's that, you know, old adage that, you know, the worst people fucking live forever.
Yep. Yep. But the thing is, I do think, and as harsh as this is to say, and I don't give a fuck, like our country becomes instantly better off the moment the fucking air comes out of that man's lungs, you know, through natural causes, of course, because I don't think that anybody in the Republican Party now, including J.D. Vance, can hold like the fucking iron grip or has the sway or the ability to bullshit or get away with bullshit like Donald Trump has. So I think we're instantly in a better position as a country, and probably as a world, you know, as a planet, the moment that the air comes out of his lungs. But, you know, as I was saying, and we've talking to, you know, great colleagues of yours and fine people that, you know, like Harry Dunn have been on the show. We were in Ukraine together, as you know. You know, I've spoken to some great people, and I've asked them kind of like, what do you think? I don't know. How do I kind of phrase it? Is like, where do you think the direction for us to go? Should we keep hammering away on the Epstein? Should we keep hammering away on ICE, Border Patrol, or should we try to cover it all as much as possible with everybody that's on the team? You know, like what should the message be going forward here against everything kind of that we've been talking about?
I demand that everybody do everything that they can to preserve democracy. And,
right.
You know, I get the fact that it's like, there he is. Looks great.
Now, I don't know because of, I have to say right hand up, because I'm not fucking trained on AI or what's fake or real anymore. You never know. But
I don't care.
This don't look good, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what that is, but that don't look good.
Also, it looks like he's got no, like his toupee is gone. Like he's wearing the hat because he's bald.
And I don't know what enhanced photo means exactly. Like, how enhanced is that photo really? But I just kind of wanted to. These are the photos that have. But this is what happens when you release fake photos of yourself, or you try to make it seem like you're healthy or around and up in action when you're not, though. You know what I mean? At least speculation.
Like the stare. It's like the polar opposite of the 100-yard stare.
It's like the 2-inch blaze.
Super intense, and you're honed in on something. This is like, where am I? What happened? Yeah, I don't know.
There was a few more photos that were proven to be like, it was as far back as 2023. There was one that I saw posted from some random, I don't know if he was a business owner or some low-level congressman or something like that, but he had posted it like the day after it was supposedly taken. And it's like, listen, if I know anything from you fucking MAGA chud bags, like, you are tripping over your dicks to get that fucking picture out, or you and the Fuhrer out on social media as fast as fucking possible as soon as that picture is taken. Don't give me this bullshit like, you just waited till the next morning because it was no big deal and then decided to post it to prove to everybody that Donald Trump was like up and around and alive and wasn't in hospice or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. Let's be real. I know how the cult works. You guys are dying to get that picture online as fast as possible. So do you think he was dealing with health issues, or, because there was also the speculation that, like, even his Truth Social post didn't sound like it was him writing it. And you could tell it was kind of an aide trying to mock or mimic the way that he writes.
I mean, in the age of technology, I just got to go by what I see, and I'm looking at him, and he guy looks like he's at death's doorstep. So, yeah. He does not look like a guy who's
you can stop there. He just does not look like a guy. He just doesn't look like anything. I don't know what that is. Like I said, looks like he's about to say, "Hey, you guys!" Like, I don't know what the fuck. Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of speculation going around, so I kind of want to get your thoughts on that. But another thing I kind of wanted to get your take on, and I'm sure you're not going to hold back on this, is Rudy Giuliani now in line to get the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Do you have any thoughts and opinions on whether that's deserved? I don't know if this is strictly because he just got in a recent car accident, or if this was something that was in the works or whatever, but it just seems to me like, oh, Rudy got hurt. All right, let's give him something, because he didn't get a spot in the administration. But this has to piss people off that, did actively do things to not only require and justify them getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom, but also continued that throughout their life. Because, regardless of what you think of, Giuliani's handling during 9/11 and his mayoralship in New York City, like, he has not continued that fight for justice, that fight for democracy throughout. Like, he seemed to me like he capitulated in order to get on Donald Trump's good side. Even if he didn't before then. I didn't follow Giuliani's life and career that closely after 9/11, but it just seems to me like this is kind of like a participation trophy that disrespects everybody that received one legitimately beforehand.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't really give a shit if he gets the Medal of Freedom. I don't give a shit what honor Donald Trump wants to bestow on him. First, you got to look at the person who's bestowing the award. And I certainly wouldn't accept anything from Donald Trump, award or otherwise, because I don't respect him at all. And so, but I certainly would be pissed if I was somebody who had done something, contributed in some significant way to this country, and now this like ass bag Rudy Giuliani, who really went deep down the Trump corruption MAGA hole, and ended up losing everything because of it. I mean, if you remember, he was sued by the mother and daughter who were election workers in Georgia, who he infamously disparaged and described their actions, which were, I believe it was Shea Moss, the handing a breath mint to someone,
Yep.
and he described it as her handing a thumb drive as if she was a crack dealer, making an incredibly racist remark about, Shea Moss. And so he lost his entire fortune. And now I think if, knowing what I know about Rudy Giuliani, he's probably been calling the White House every single day, begging Trump to help, rebrand him or rebuild his reputation or credibility. And so
I still say that medal should be in the shape of a dildo, and he should have to do the press conference in front of a fucking sex toy shop that he did it there the first time, the Four Seasons landscaping or whatever the fuck it was called. Like, he should be forced to wear just a big bright green dildo around his neck that says Presidential Medal of Freedom for the rest of his life. And that would be great to me.
And I'll tell you, like, this is my advice to to the media: don't cover it.
Right.
There should be nobody there from the White House press pool covering him getting this ridiculous fucking award. I don't want to see it on the local news. I don't want to see it on CNN. I'm sure, Breitbart and OAN and all the other repugnant fucking ultra right, MAGA publications will show up. But no one should there should be no photo that publicly exists of Trump giving this award to Rudy Giuliani.
Right. And speaking of like what should be covered and what's shouldn't be covered, what do you have coming up? Do you have anything you're covering coming up on the Michael Fanone show? Anything that you're looking to speak about or raise awareness on that we haven't covered so far?
I mean, the last live that I did was kind of like a test run, and we're still trying to figure out the format and everything. I mean, I want it to be interesting. But unfortunately, because it's a political show, I also have to include politicians, which are like literally the least interesting people that I've ever met in my entire life. Although there are some,
like, I'm kind of skimming the edges, brother. That's why I'm skimming the edges. I don't want to dive too deep in there and fucking put people to sleep.
Yeah, I want to like mix it up a little bit. I really want to go. So I did an interview when I was out. When I was out in LA at the Warped Tour, and I interviewed Ken Casey, who lead singer of and founding member of the Dropkick Murphys. And like, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's the fact that I've been listening to them since I was a kid, or what. But it's like the fact that there's so few artists in this moment. The arts community, the humanities community. Right. Speaking out against the administration, mostly because they're scared of the backlash and losing fans and losing money, which is fucking reprehensible. Right. But seeing somebody do that, it was inspiring. And I kind of want to, given the fact that like I have a deep connection to music, and I want to get people like that coming on the show and talking about, what inspired them to be outspoken in this moment. I did have 4 women. I don't know if you caught the first episode. There was 4 women. Most of them were creators, and they, for those of you who are not familiar, Representative Nicole Collier was being held hostage inside the Texas state legislature when they returned from breaking quorum. The Governor Abbott, required each and every one of them to sign this permission slip, which would allow them to leave the chamber, but they had to be escorted by law enforcement, which is insane. Right. In a free democracy, that's incredible. And so she refused. She was held captive there by state police. And these 4 women who were so outraged showed up, and they're just, like anyone else. And they were arrested, and that to me was significant because, here you have these 4 women, incredible women, who are setting the standard for what it means to be an American citizen in this moment, and that means a willingness to sacrifice your own freedom, fighting for someone else. Interesting. I actually I had come up with the name for this podcast. I was going to call it Third Man In after Dropkick Murphys track off their first record. The whole premise being, from hockey and fights. And
I was going to say, that's a penalty, right?
Yeah. But that's, to me, like growing up, that was everything. I knew who my friends were because when I got into a fight, they were the first people to jump in and have my back. And that this is a moment in America where you need to find somebody that's inspiring you and stand up next to them and let them know that you've got their back. And that's what these women did. And they sacrificed their freedom. They all got arrested. Granted, they're out, the next day, but it's not for people who have never had that experience. It's scary stuff.
Yeah, we just spoke yesterday to Chris Cluey, who's running for an assembly seat in in Orange County 72nd here, and he was arrested back in February for civil disobedience after he spoke at a city council meeting against a plaque that they were putting up at a library that used the moniker or it said MAGA, but obviously it didn't say Make America Great Again. It used different words, but in order to get MAGA on the plaque, they used whatever words they chose, and he spoke up against it and used his right to civil disobedience and was escorted out, carried out, whatever you want to call it. So it's people like him, and like I said, he's now running for an assembly seat here in California. So check out him, and do you want to because we have a hard out at 11 that I got to shoot over to another show on the other channel that this is being broadcast on. So do you want to make sure that you give everybody like your social medias where they can follow you on YouTube, your show name, the podcast, everything like that, so we can make sure that we get that in?
Yeah. So the YouTube channel is just the Michael Fanone Show. Check it out. I put out content throughout the day, usually 4 or 5 posts a day, short videos, and then we're like I said, we're working on doing a weekly live show. And then I've got my Instagram is official Michael Fanone, and I'm also on Substack. I do a pretty significant amount of writing for Substack, and that's the same thing. It's just Michael Fanone on Substack. So,
well, I appreciate you, dude. We'll make sure to put all of the links in the chat so everybody knows where they can find you. Sorry that we only had an hour. I hope that we get this chance and the opportunity to speak again, because there's so much more that we could dive into. We were just kind of barely scraping the surface here today, but it was an honor and a pleasure to finally get to sit down and through video, at least face to face, get to talk about a lot of these important issues that we face, and get to thank you from, again, not only myself but my girlfriend, and also the chat for what you've experienced, what you've gone through, what you've fought through, and what you continue to fight against right now. So it's an honor and a pleasure, my friend. I hope you have a wonderful day. Please thank your brother for helping set this all up. And again, you have an open invitation. This link works. That same link should work. So anytime you have something you want to promote, anything you want to talk about, whatever it is, you're more than welcome on the show anytime you want. So I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. This was great.
Thank you so much, and good luck with your show, the podcast, and I hope people in the chat make sure they hop right over after this show and subscribe to the Michael Fanone Show over on YouTube. Though, thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate it. And we'll be sure to catch up again, right, bud?
Yep.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, buddy. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. And I think we're just about on time, ladies and gentlemen. So everybody over on this space, you're going to be tuning in to Jeff Waldorf coming up next. I appreciate Jeff and thank Jeff for everything he does and everything he's done and continues to do in this space and on this space, I should say. So make sure you're tuning in there, everybody here. If you want to stick around on Blunt Politics, so I can thank everybody that contributed to the show, either sent a Venmo or everything, but I'm not going to bore this space and the Letter Hacks audience with all of that. So I appreciate you guys so much. I really, really do. Thank you so much once again to not only Mike, but also his brother, Peter, for helping set this all up. I know he's a busy guy. A lot of people want his time. A lot of people are curious about his opinions and thoughts on what's going on because of his experience and what he's gone through in the past. I can only, I was going to say I can only imagine, but I can't even imagine, honestly, being in the position of again, having gone through the threat to democracy that was posed back in 2021, and then seeing things at this moment in time almost feeling worse, right? And I'm not this whole the world's on fire type guy, but we'll get into that next show. I'll see you guys tonight on the 8:30 show. Make sure you're checking out Jeff Waldorf again on this space. If you're on this Blunt Politics, check him out. Make sure you're hanging around so we can thank everybody. But if you're on this space, thank you very much to the mods over there. Thank you so much to Matt. Thank you to everybody helping over there. And make sure you're checking out Jeff's show. Over to you, Jeff. I appreciate you, brother. Hopefully I give them a hard out. I'm trying my best. Trying my best. I appreciate it, though. All right. So for you fantastic people over here on my channel, I just want to get through some of the people that contributed today on Venmo and through YouTube. Thank you so much, guys. Again, it's only from your support, and I want to thank the members of this channel so much. I want to thank all the Patreon members of the channel so much, because without your support, we'd never be able to get fantastic interviews like Mike Fanone, like Harry Dunn, like some of the other people that we've spoken to. Hopefully, we're trying to get Ken Casey on. We're trying to speak to other people. Hopefully, we're trying to get an interview set up with Kat Ebaguzela. We're trying to speak to so many different people. I don't want to give away too much without having set up everything, but fantastic women like Jessica Denson as well that we're hoping to have on the podcast. So again, it's only with your help and your support and your contributions and you continuing to gift memberships and sign up for memberships that it gives us the ability and I guess the reach to have people look at the show and say, yes, that would be worth my time to go on and give my opinions and share my platform. So I appreciate it, and I'll keep you updated on who's coming up next. And thank you. Again, Lev Parnas, we're also going to try to set something up with him as well. So I appreciate it. Let me see if I can get to everybody on Venmo here before I go too far over and you guys start getting angry. All right. Let me see here. We got transactions. So Roxanne, thank you so much. Claudia, thank you so much. Linda, thank you so much. Dame Dog, happy belated birthday. Dame Dog, I appreciate you. JD, thank you so much. JD again, thank you so much. Thomas, oh, thank you, Thomas, dude. And thank you, JD and Dame. Again, you guys are fantastic. Let me thank, we got a few here. Berkeley, let's fucking go, brother. Let's fucking go. Fun show, great guest, amazing host. I appreciate that, dude. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and hope you guys come back for the show tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We're on again. Thank you for your great work and the guest. Thank you so much, Debbie. I appreciate that. And to round it out, Bobby Slacks. Let's fucking go, Slacks. The usual love to Mel, Dungaree Dog, Logan. Please give Michael my love. Love to all Bryantologists, and thank you all in advance for your kind greetings. Well, thank you so much, Slacks. You are appreciated. We really, really do. And I hope you guys are going to check out Jeff over there on this space. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you guys can be reminded when I am on again tonight. Again, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 if you're on the Pacific Coast here. And we'll see you tonight. I appreciate it. It's the doubleheader, the Wednesday doubleheader. So, but I will get you guys out of here. All right. I appreciate it. Let me see if I can find this. I know it was one of these. I'm out of here. Peace. One of these? No? Hey, oh, thank you. Bye. Thank you to all the Trucker John fans. Thank you to everybody that's watching on MySpace. I keep saying fucking MySpace. I knew I was going to do that. This space. But thank you guys. I appreciate it. Go check out the In the House show if Al's still on. Thank you, Trucker John fans. Thank you, everybody else. I appreciate it.
Brian, you're drunk. Get drunk.
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful audience. Give yourself some round of applause. It's so lovely. Everyone's so lovely.
Never fight uphill, me boys. Never fight uphill. They were fighting uphill. He said, wow, that was a big mistake. He lost his great general. And they were fighting. Never fight uphill, me boys. But it was too late. nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat you.
Or go fuck yourself.
Fuck. God damn it. Every single time. Tom said see you tonight, and I just couldn't help but come back and say I'll see you tonight. It's one button every single time. Good. Literally one button. I'm not fucking remember. Thanks again to Michael Fanone. I appreciate it. Thank you guys. Have a good day. I'll see you guys later tonight. All right. Peace.